You wouldn't have to use the Trek standards. It still wouldn't be a bad starting point, right?
Yeah.
I
Well, yeah,
mean,
you could use, I mean, the cool thing about using if you can use your Trek template is all your comments are going to be all relevant to your climate zone and how you speak, and you're all like, so if there's a way to use your Trek template would be great. I've never sort of considered that. But if you guys want, do you want me to just kind of show you how I set up my template to like so I only need to have one template? I mean, it's not a bad thing to have sort of recorded. So let me open up my template here. So there's a couple different keys to using Scribeware for every different type of inspection that you can get and only maintaining one template. I think one of the rudiments of the entire thing is that on the left here we have our chapters, and within each chapter we have sections. So that's just vocabulary thing if you're new to Scribeware. So I'm in the interior chapter, and down here I have an indoor air quality and elevator section, for example. And if we go to those, I don't have these set as a required field. They're just sitting there. If I have a house that has an elevator, I can click on that and say, people get killed with these things, have somebody look at it. But I don't have to like build that specially, right? It's just sitting there. And the cool thing about Scribeware, the logic that applies to the whole thing is that if you don't put data into a section or chapter, it doesn't print in the report. So just right there, like even with like commercial, Rick, like if you had a building with an elevator, it's like, well, boom, here's my elevator section. It's sitting right there. So you could keep adding sections into your template and just leave them blank when you're doing if they don't apply. So that's the first step of like, let's have one template is just understanding that logic. Another part of that would be like, if we look at my crawl space chapter, I really like using the required fields that I've built out. So for me, these are the little, uh, the fields that are red. And I notice I've got 186 items to review. So that's my own personal little don't forget it while I'm out in the field list, right? And if a house doesn't have a crawl space, I still set these as a required field because if it does, I want to not forget to fill them out. So I have all these crawl space fields set as a required field. If there's no crawl space, I just come up here and I turn the chapter green with the little check mark, and then notice how I go from 186 items down to 78 items. So even if you have a chapter or a section set as a required field, it's not a whole lot of work to kind of turn things green. So I personally like to have a chapter for each bathroom. So I have 4 bathroom chapters, but if a house only has a family bath and a main bath, I can turn these ones off, and I've kind of gotten rid of a bunch of required fields, and I just click the box. Does that make sense of like part 2 of kind of having one template do everything? So then let's say, for example, we have a condo interior only job. Well, I've got all these grounds sections and stuff, and really I can just ignore them, but I want to get rid of my required fields. So I would just go under here and get rid of grounds, get rid of exterior. I might use the decks and porches because when I do an interior condo, I like to comment on those, but I'm not doing the roof, chimney, or gutters. So there's usually not like fuel source stuff I'm dealing with. So you see how you can just kind of go through and you toggle off structure and basement. That wouldn't apply to a condo interior. Attic doesn't apply. So I've toggled all that stuff off. So now all of a sudden this should look a lot like a condo interior template. Right? I mean, you just have all the stuff you need on the inside. Now, there's another thing I do for a condo. Let's go to the client and property information page. And here on the front of this report, I've got my boilerplate, my Orca home inspection, but I've got all kinds of different boilerplates, and I can switch my boilerplate to condo interior right here. And then that will set the stage for this particular report. The other day, somebody wanted me to just look at a couple things in an ADU for them, and I switched my boilerplate to my consulting boilerplate, which is right here. And that's really simple boilerplate. We could look at it in a minute here, but that one basically says this is not a home inspection, and the entire scope of what I did is only what's in this report. right? So it's just like, boom, this is like, so, and that's really helpful because sometimes people just want you to report on a roof or like a crawl space or an attic or something. And so now I can so I just switch to a consulting template. I use whatever I want, leave everything else blank. So everybody with me so far? And like that's another way that this can work for everything. And if I had a commercial job, Rick, I would use I would just switch over to my commercial boilerplate, and then I would try to make sure all my comments say building in them, Now that said, I do my commercial to kind of residential standards. I don't do like I know when you get really into commercial, there are different standards like the CCPIA or whatever, I think has their own standards. And I would actually really love to get a template available that's built out with those standards, but we don't have one at the moment as like an available thing. So reach out if you want to build one. That would be cool. So
My commercial specifically states that they don't follow those standards because they're really pretty mediocre.
yeah, those standards
Amazing.
are really thin. And I mean, I kind of get it if you're doing like 300,000 square feet of warehouse or something. I mean, I think they make a lot of sense. But for a lot of like the light commercial kind of work I do, that I feel like people want more of like a standard home inspection scope of things. Um, so so that covers the boilerplate. That's another kind of factor in being able to use a template for everything. The final thing I wanted to talk about is a lot of people, particularly people coming from HomeGauge, like to use default descriptions. And those would be like, if you're familiar with HG, often like the beginning of each chapter will have a paragraph at the top that says, I'm not responsible for decks, and if somebody dies, it's not my fault, and right, all that kind of stuff, right, would be at the top of each HG chapter. And a key part of how I've set my template up is if I start a brand new template, there's nothing in it. So when I start a new report, if I hit publish, there's absolutely nothing in it. And how a lot of people set up their boilerplate in HG, I've replaced it using this technique. So let me just, for example, go to like my heating systems. And if you do a house with a gas forced air furnace, welcome Mike and Erskine, the guys chiming in. Nice to see you here. So anyway, if I'm doing a house with a gas forced air furnace, as soon as I hit gas forced air furnace, the blue tells me I have a descriptive comment attached to that, and that's how I get my heat exchanger limitation. So I've set up my kind of CYA limitation stuff directly connected to descriptive fields that I feel like by SOP I have to fill that out anyway. So there's no extra step involved. And what it means is that my CYA is like specific to the building that I'm inspecting. So if I'm doing a building that has a heat pump, I don't have a heat exchanger limitation in it because there's no heat exchanger in the furnace anyway. So why would you? So I know a lot of people like those default descriptions, and I've got no beef with it if you want to use them. But once you go down the path of default descriptions, then it gets harder to use the same template for commercial or for an interior only or whatever, because now you can still do it, but you'd end up having to delete some of the default descriptions out of a given template. Does that make sense, everybody? And a little bit of this is just how do you want to approach it? But that old HG way of like a limitation maybe at the top and bottom of each chapter, I do like it, and I get why people use it. And if you want to use it, go for it. But it does make it so that you then might be you're leading yourself down a path where you might need to maintain multiple templates more than I do, if that makes sense. So Mike and Erskine, what we were going over, guys, to start with was how I've set up my template so that I can use it for one item consults to interior only condos to residential to commercial. I can kind of use one template for everything. And I must say that I really do feel like that pays long-term dividends for your sanity, but whatever. If
Jenna.
there are advantages to having
Well, I'm on a
multiple
Zoom right now,
templates.
but
I'm just mooting Charlie there for a minute. So cool. Does that make sense, everyone? And guys, I've recorded this. Like Jamie, welcome, but everyone's shown up late. That the very first thing we went over was how I set my template up to be able to work one template for pretty much any job that comes my way. So, and if you missed it, you'll catch that in the recording of it. So cool. Well, so one of the things I was hoping to go over today, I was hoping Scott would be on here. I mean, he might be showing up at some point, but I would like some feedback from you guys on how you would like to do reviews with the client on site on the mobile device. Right. So this has been coming up a bunch in the forums. Scott's been kind of pushing it, which is sort of why I was hoping he'd be on here. But and this is, this is super tricky from a software development standpoint because, everybody works so differently. I mean, we can't just rush out and like build 60 different ways to do it, or we'll drive everybody crazy. So, if you want, I'll just start with like my thoughts on this. And Tim and I have been chatting about it as well. I was talking to Charlie about it, and I've been really thinking about it. But
Dylan, can you restate your initial sentence there?
Yeah. So the question is, you're doing you're working on the phone, it is kind of what I'm thinking of, and you're done and you want to review the major what you want to do a summary review with the client with your pictures. And how do you do that, or without pictures? But either way, like, how do you remind yourself of the things that you want to talk to the client about, or how do you show them images of those things? And it's a really good question. For me personally, if it's a buyer, I'm usually dragging them and showing them a certain amount of stuff as I go. And so especially bigger things, and so I don't particularly personally do a lot of summary picture review on site, but I used to back in the old days. I mean, I don't know, workflows change over your career, right? And things change. I almost exclusively worked for buyers for the last 5 years, or for sellers, excuse me, and before that I worked for buyers. So there's a whole other change in things. So anyway, for me, I actually use the tagging feature, and anything I want to talk to my client about when I'm done, I can just hit tagged photos and be able to kind of sort through those really quickly. So for me, that works super well, but that's because I usually am only going to review 3 or 4 big items with them, so I don't really need to like a super detailed way of going through everything. My thought would be that if people want to really review the whole report, that on mobile, it would be ideal to have a preview button. And that's obviously, we have that on desktop. We now have mobile publishing, which is exciting. But sometimes you're offline and you don't have access to the internet. You don't want to publish the report. You just want to preview it. So I'm curious, like, if anyone has ideas on this, but my thought would be that there would be at least 2 ways that what somebody could collect data for an on-site summary. One would be you tag your pictures with a summary, and the other would be you preview the report, meaning you would have gotten a bunch of your comments in for the main items, and that you can review those, essentially review your summary.
How do you tag photos, Dylan?
Yeah, so I can, in a minute, I can log in with the mobile and show you guys. Can you see my screen here? There's a couple like infrared pictures. And I think I've got some of these pictures. So let's double click on it. So it works similar on mobile, but on desktop, you see how it says add down here? And everybody can make their own tags. So I have a summary tag. We still have a bit of work to do on the tagging. We really want to improve it. I love the tagging, but there's a few things I want to improve with it. But so if this were like a summary item and then a deck item, I can give it those 2 tags and then hit close. We can save and close. Let me do another one here. Double click and open it. One of the things that we want to improve is I would like to be able to be able to tag multiple images at once. So for example, I could go through and click like 20 different deck pictures and be able to get both of them tagged at the same time. Right now, we can only tag 1 picture at a time. I think it didn't like that. Yeah, decks. There we go.
Hey, Dylan, can you clarify something for me? Is this in gallery that you're tagging, or is this in the report itself where they belong?
It would work in either place. I mean, obviously, once they're where they belong, you're not as likely to need to tag it, but either, all I'm doing is opening. It's in the photo editor is where it happens, Mike.
Thank you.
I don't see it on mine. Is this, are you using like a beta version? I don't see that little ad in my photo.
It's possible you have an older version, and I can help you with that if that's the case.
Well, maybe, hang on one second. I might have gone to a video by mistake.
Yeah, there is an update. I'm surprised because I don't think you've been on Scriber that long, but anyway, it depends when you downloaded it. There was actually, here's how you could check on your desktop is under settings. If you open up settings and what's new, or maybe it's advanced. Yeah, it was advanced, I think. There was like a weird bit of red language that showed up, and that was how you had to like do some kind of change that I can't remember how or why we did that. Every once in a while when we update something, it's a little more complicated, and that was one of the things. But it's possible you don't have the tagging. If I can't remember, Jamie, but we've had it for, I don't know, at least 6 months now.
Yeah, I don't have it on my version.
Well, reach out to, you can use that submit feedback and we'll make sure you get that. And I could help you through it here in a bit. But see up here, I mean, this is cool in our photo editor, how there's filters applied, and I can go and hit decks, and you see how it just sorted through all of those and just gave me only my deck things. Then I can open it up again and clear the tags, and now I've got all my pictures. Isn't that cool? So the tags are really sweet. To me, one of the single biggest things is I'd like to be able to just take a bunch of pictures and then go through and highlight 10 or 20 deck pictures and be able to tag it one time. And right now we can't do that. So we've got a few little improvements to tags that'll help a lot. But that's
the same
how.
boat as Jamie. I do not have that either, Dylan. So you may want to check on the availability.
Interesting. Charlie's on here. Charlie, do you remember where that thing was? Was it under advanced? Remember when we introduced the tagging and there was like something you had to update on your desktop in order to get the tags? Do you remember where that was?
I think it was advanced.
Yeah, I think it was under advanced. So guys, go under advanced under settings. Do you have?
I just don't remember.
I know. Tim's smarter than we are. I believe he would remember.
I'll give Tim kudos.
How about if we clear the local cache and then it reloads?
No, I don't think that's for some other thing. You don't.
One thing that could happen is if you're on a Windows computer and you increase your text size to make everything look bigger, sometimes that pushes that add button off the screen, and so you won't be able to see it.
Oh.
What are you trying to say?
I increased my text size and it's halfway off the screen. So
that's interesting. Okay, good.
Ben Hendricks is picking on me pretty hard over that the other day.
But you see how I have them, guys, right? I click that and it's just sitting there right below the caption. One of the so I'd love your guys' feedback on this, but one of the things that Charlie and I were talking, and I think Tim's on the same page with this, that we'd like to change is have all of, if all of the tags were available almost like this, but without the white, like they were kind of transparent over the photo so that you don't have to like click to get them. Like every single picture you take, you could just hit it and tag it. See what you guys, Charlie did a mock-up of this if that doesn't make sense, but our thought would be on mobile, the tags could literally like sit over the picture, and that way every time you take a picture, if you want to, you just tag it. You don't have to open the little tag button, if that makes sense.
I can share that screen if you want to do it, but it's up to you.
Yeah, it's a picture. Do you want to put it in the chat?
But I could screenshot it into there probably. It's a PDF. Or it's on a PowerPoint.
Well, here, you have it up?
I'll get it up. And
yeah,
then,
you can get it up.
Well, you're talking about that, Dylan. There is one comment for you, is wherever you all have a field show up, I don't care what it's for, it'd be awful nice if you could drag and move that across your screen instead of it being stationary where it comes up at, particularly when you're working on the library information.
Which one are we, what field are we talking about?
Any text box, any command field that you bring up on the screen and it's static as you're working in it. And I can't even tell you which one specifically. There's about a half a dozen of them, it seems, but yet.
Like the edit alternate text when that comes up? Is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about?
Basically, it'd be nice to be able to move whatever dialogue screen comes up out of the middle of the screen, for example.
Oh, like this one. Is that
Yeah.
what you mean? Okay.
Anything like that
Yeah.
populates, it'd be just nice to be able to push that around and get it out of where I
Yeah, that
want
would
to
be
use it.
super cool, huh?
Great.
Yeah, that's a good piece of feedback, Mike. Right on. Yeah, I'll let maybe Steve will watch this. Otherwise, you can submit the feedback. But that would be pretty cool. I see what you mean. Just to be able to drag that out of the way, because sometimes you might want to go and look at what you had or something, and yeah, that makes sense.
Wow, that's pretty good for a guy from Kentucky, Mike Patton. Just so everybody knows, I know Mike, so I can hassle him like that.
Well, you should have just said Mike, and we would have included Mike Parrish in that.
I don't know.
He's asleep, though. He's not paying attention to me.
So, Charlie, do you have that picture up?
Yeah, just a second, I'm getting it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'd like to finish the tag. Let's see, why make it more complicated? It's easy to navigate for review. Well, I think what, oh yeah, Charlie's nice.
Yeah, so there's just how they could be semi-transparent over the top of the image, and obviously I would want to see them all the same size, and maybe when you click the screen they go opaque, or but at any rate, get rid of this aspect that takes you 2 or 3 steps away from the picture.
Yeah, I mean, maybe what you'd want is a little thing where it's show tags or hide tags or something, and then once they're shown, every picture would have them, But I that would make me use my tags way more. I think
even if you just had one tag on it to go to your summary, and so that you could use it as your summary images at the end of the inspection.
And that's mostly all I use tagging for. I don't really need it for anything else personally, but I love my summary tag. And then when I'm done, I just hit reviews. I go to summary items, and then I have like 4 or 5 pictures I can review. But I don't do like a whole big photo review with people. I kind of keep it pretty simple. It's like I just want to hit. There's mold in the attic. There's rats in the crawl space, and service the furnace. Whatever. Like that. I keep the big things with them. Cool, Charlie. That's super helpful. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So Dylan, one idea on this, on the making the tags easier. So if you're sharing your screen again,
oh, you want me to share mine, or is that...
no, Dylan can.
Yeah,
I'll share mine. If you go to where you sort to view the tags in the media filter thing. So you see how they're like right there.
Here, hang on. Let me open them from here, because I think this is what you mean, right?
No, well, yeah, either one.
This one.
So how they're like bright if they're selected and they're dim if they're not.
Yep.
So maybe on the add tag, have it to where you can pick some select tags that you really like and have them always show up but be dim. And then all you have to do is touch that one tag, but it's still across the bottom. And then if you have like 12 of them, you can just scroll back and forth across that bar to get to them, and then they're not obstructing the picture.
That's a good idea, so that you could choose 4 or 5 that are most
You
prominent.
can choose your main ones that you use. Like if you only use a summary, then every picture you've got add and you've got summary. And if you want to have the summary tag, all you do is click the summary once. You don't have to go open a menu and find it.
Yeah. The other big thing I want, at least on desktop, is to be able to sort these. I want to drag them around and resequence them, and you can't do that right now. So we know we've got a little bit of work to kind of really finish the tagging thing, but I think we're close. And I like that idea, because if you had all these tags showing up on every picture, it'd be such a pain. Whereas you might want to have them, but yet you might only use 2 or 3 frequently. That's your point, right, Tim?
Yeah, and then because you've already got a space dedicated for that where they would show up anyway, so you don't have to do a major overhaul to get them over the picture. You've already got that bar. Even on the mobile, you'd have a space to put 2 or 3 there that just always show up as unselected, and then you can always hit the add button and add the rare ones to it as well.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea.
Hey, Dylan, a question for you on that, just for the use of it. Let's say, for example, yesterday, for me, I'm in the field. I don't do that many inspections. It hurts. Well, I'm running late. So on the exterior, I just started taking all the pictures in the exterior. That included my air conditioning unit. That included my services coming in.
Mhm.
Well, after I built the report out, I just drug those pictures where they belonged.
Mhm.
Are you saying this is the type of application that the tagging would be good for? Where they were
It is. That's exactly why we built it, is that to me, the tags were for, I'm in a hurry. The client's with me. I'm not writing the report. I'm just going to organize by tagging everything. And that way, in theory, you go to write your deck comment and you just come up here and you hit the decks, and now all your deck pictures are organized. And then we've only used one set of filters, but you hit your summary and there's your summary items, right? And so that way, and we actually, one of the cool things that we were thinking of doing was making it so that you could build tags that could auto correspond to a chapter, so that as
That's
soon
where I
as you
thought you
hit,
were going.
yeah, as soon as you hit garage, the whole thing would automatically be like, here's the photos you tagged with the garage, here's the photos you tagged with electric, so that's another kind of, we don't have that yet, but that was sort of, we really, I love your guys' feedback, but it's interesting. I've got my system. I mean, my report writing is like a Ferrari. I can do it really fast for how much detail I can put in a report. And I actually spend almost all of my time going like this. And that is like connecting pictures to comments, right? It's just like I drag a lot of stuff around. And so to me, if we could figure out how to, get closer and closer to automatically sorting pictures where they need to go, I think would be like another step in like, I mean, that would for me practically get rid of the only report writing I would do at that point is just the like whatever amount of customization I'm doing to make it super specific to that building. Like all the basic gist of what I'm doing would almost happen, if that makes sense. So I don't know that, some of these things are pretty advanced. They're going to take a little bit of time, but I think tags was our first nudge in that direction. And we're hoping to do a little bit of work around them to improve them a bit.
If you didn't have to go over and click on filter, I mean, eliminating that step would be good.
Yeah, that's right. Right now you have to like do these different filters, and that would kind of solve that problem. Cool. So does anybody have any other comments on the idea of the summary, on-site summary? The other thing I wanted to throw out there is, I know a lot of people, I work on a phone, and if you want to do a summary review on a big, like on a computer have it big, I wonder if anybody has had, like a mobile device screening type thing so that you could just show your mobile on the big screen without having to rely on syncing. I mean, sometimes if you're out in the field, you could have another device and you could use a hotspot, but if you don't have very good internet connection, then you're going to be stuck, So one possibility might be like any kind of mirroring. I don't know if anybody's tried that, but I mean, we're just trying to think of every different way people like to do on-site photo summary, which is, it kind of goes on forever. Everybody does it differently. And we can't really build thousands of different systems. We'll drive ourselves insane, but I want to have the ability for, some different options for people. So I think
just make it mandatory that the homeowner has to give you Wi-Fi access, and you throw it up on an 80-inch screen.
I love that.
Right,
Let's go
right.
for it.
Well, Michael Wicklund, he's a inspector out here, but he knows how to out here. If you use Comcast, in theory, anybody that has Comcast, there's like a back door for you to use that internet. I've never tried it, but he uses it all the time, which is kind of brilliant. I ought to figure it out. I'm just too lazy to
I
do
did
it.
it today.
You did? Yeah.
Yeah, my phone's been acting up. I'm not getting signal, but I can do Wi-Fi calling. I was sitting out in front of a house waiting for somebody to show up for something and jumped in on a Xfinity in my case.
Yeah.
But it's really cool.
That's awesome, Jamie. Yeah, I got to figure out how to do that. And how do you just look up that they have Wi-Fi and then you have like your own passcode or like?
Yeah, I have it automatically set up. You go on, do a search for a Wi-Fi connection, Comcast or Xfinity in my case, pops up. I click on it, and I'm already signed. I'm pre-signed in.
Really? That's so cool. All right, I got to figure that out.
That's as bad as the old days of rolling down the residential street looking for a Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah. No, that's
Starbucks.
Well, I mean, that would really work with this whole thing if you. So anyway, and so that's I have Xfinity here, or Comcast, same company. So yeah, well, there's another hack for you guys.
So Does anybody else here do a full summary? Because I feel like I might be in a minority that like I prefer when I do a summary with a client to, I don't talk about every photo, but I like having every photo there and I just kind of flip through them real quick and talk about the ones rather than like during the inspection deciding because I might have 150 photos. I don't want to also sort for a summary at the same time. Does anybody else do full summaries on site or does everybody do kind of abbreviated quick summaries?
And how long
Yeah.
does your summary take you at the end?
What's that?
How long does your summary take at the end of the inspection?
30, 45 minutes sometimes.
Mhm.
See, I don't, I just,
Jamie.
do the report and then Zoom with them through the whole report later.
That's actually because I've done that some when I feel like when I've wanted to do that, Tim, I've now been like, I'm like, hey, let's Zoom, I'll Zoom with you,
Mhm.
and that's sort of how, and then I can do it from home and I'm done with the report and we can like go through
Everybody's
the whole report
relaxing.
and
You can see what
yeah.
their kids look like and the dog and everything. I mean, it's
But
a
yeah,
lot more personal.
it's interesting. I also found, I don't know how you guys feel, but to me, after like, 2.5 to 3.5 hours on site, my brain is just freaking spent, like I don't have a lot of bandwidth to start like going through everything. And I don't even entirely know what I'm going to say about everything yet, right? Some of the things I figured out
Exactly.
when I'm writing the report. So I've tried it, for me, my on-site summary is like, and I actually think it's a great challenge. Like you should be able to leave every inspection and be like, the roof, the deck, and the refrigerator, or whatever, right? You should be able to have like your 3 to 5 things that are like the what really stands out, and that's kind of what I hit. And then I'm like, all the other stuff's in the report. But I used to do that, Tim. I
Yeah.
And
used
I
to.
apologize if I came across aggressively there. I do exactly what Dylan does. It should be, in my opinion, and well, in my opinion, 5 minutes. Your big concerns are roof. There's mold in the attic. Your electric system is screwed up, and go load your stuff back in your vehicle and get out.
I'm with Jamie.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if I'm going to do, and this is a business decision because Tim's got a certain clientele that he caters to, that this is what they're used to. So I'm not bashing you on that. I'm just looking at my own personal side of it. We've got an agent up here right now that came over from one of the companies I bought that thinks that we're supposed to do a 4-hour inspection. They show up on the 4th hour and they expect you to walk them through the property for an hour and a half. Guess who no longer has that agent?
Yeah. Yeah.
Lost client. I'm done. I can't afford it.
Mhm.
No, and it's really not. And the other way is that if you show up and you don't do a summary after, the agent gets to leave at 45 minutes early, and they like that.
Yeah.
That's
No, and it's interesting too. I mean, what Mike was saying there a little bit is like it's always weird when the agents start really steering the ship a lot of what we're supposed to be doing. That always makes me pretty uncomfortable. But and you get everything, I mean, I've had agents be like, you didn't check the water meter outside or the transformer or some, the thing that I probably do now, but at one point, I was like, why do you do that? And they probably had Charlie. Charlie was like out there like looking at the ground on the transformer, and I didn't even know to look for that. What are you gonna say? What were you gonna say there, Mike?
Well, when COVID hit, we basically were not allowed to have anybody on the properties with us.
Mm-hmm.
However, we had a few people insist on a driveway conversation, literally pulling up on the curb and sitting there talking to you, even though they're 20 feet away from you and we're yelling at you. Okay, great. But yet that really became my model for how to handle the summary at the end, both in, hey, how are you today? Wonderful. Let's get past that. The niceties. The house is pretty clean. You got 4 items that you really need to consider. When I get the report over to you, please review it. If you got questions, please give us a call.
Yeah.
Hey, have a great day. I'm already loaded and ready to roll.
That's interesting. So COVID ended up changing your summary review for the better for you, Yeah, that's
that's
interesting.
that's how it became a Zoom meetup after. Yeah, I can't tell you how much it improved the discussion with the client is once you've thought about the report and published it, and you know exactly. There's no more interpreting or waiting to figure things out.
Yeah. No, it is amazing in this business. Mike, I quote you all the time. You drive 70 miles and it's a different business, and you really
Yeah.
you have to respect that, like, everybody's going to do it differently, and that's how their market works. And it's all good, it's like that's all part of it, and it's what agents and clients expect in different areas is different. What the fee structure we get. I mean, I meet guys that are struggling to get $350 for a home inspection. And like and a lot of us northern climates, I'm not leaving the house for less than that, like to do
Yeah.
anything. So, the
A
different deal.
reinspect, maybe, I don't.
Yeah, probably more than that, So, yeah, reinspects is I've had moments where I'm like, I think I should charge more for reinspect than the original home inspection, because if you're gonna put me through this torture, then
Yeah. Yeah.
Price yourself out of doing it. That's my I don't want it price.
yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Um, cool. Well, good conversation on summaries. Too bad Scott's not on here, but he probably has some point of view on it. But at the moment, we're rolling towards kind of two options. One would be preview, and one would be tagging using a summary tag. And I think that's going to cover a lot of bases. And I think Charlie's thing of, like, you can Zoom with people later too is a pretty good one. I think Zoom is such a useful tool. I definitely use that with clients. So cool. So happy to just answer questions, but one of the other things I wanted to get done today was show off a template that Charlie and I have been working on that I think has about 150 comments, and you could definitely do your whole home inspection and I think do a really pretty detailed job. And there's only 150 comments, which is pretty cool, because my template, I think I'm still, 4,000 comments or some horrific thing like that. So you guys want to check out this template for a minute? And so this was kind of an idea that Charlie and I had a little bit. There's this cool guy, Mike from Kauai. He sort of had some ideas around workflow, and he was basically like, I just want to take pictures and caption them. That was the workflow he wanted to write a report. And I was like, that's actually pretty cool, right? I mean, especially with voice to text, or if you could save captions, as like part of a captions library, like, it actually makes a lot of sense. Why not just take pictures and caption them? I mean, it's fast. And then your report writing is mostly like clicking on descriptive boxes to describe the building, and then organizing your pictures into like the groups of comments, right? So this is what Charlie and I are calling the skeleton 2 template. And we could go, I mean, I'll start in grounds. Each chapter, the chapters are similar to what I use. If you wanted to use this, you could rename them and drag them around and resequence them. But, everybody's template is probably pretty similar, right? Grounds, exteriors and decks, fuel storage, garage, roof attics and chimneys, whatever. Everybody has a different sequence and divides them up differently. But, the thrust of this is going to be fairly universal within the home inspection industry. So grounds info is our first section, and this was all the descriptive stuff. HG would call this styles and materials, right? So you could go through, and clearance to grade was standard. It looks like we have to fix that one, Charlie. There should be like a non-standard or something, but in any event, downspouts discharge below grade. The property was steep, so that gives you like some little comments. Concrete driveway, and maybe some gravel as well, and concrete walkways, and a flagstone patio, and there were maybe no wells present, trees and vegetation. Yeah, we got to tweak a few of these, Charlie. I think we're missing like a yes there. But
I think where a lot of the defects go into later, right?
Well, yeah. Oh, that's true. So maybe we just took those out. Yeah.
I got to bail on you, Dylan.
Hey, see you, Charlie.
All right, bye.
Thanks, man.
Hey, Dylan, scroll back to the top of that.
Yeah.
One question for you as you're going through that.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've already struggled with, and we're trying to get straightened out now. But at the top of every single one of these things, whether I use it or not, I'm wanting to be able to just, when I go into the section, I want it to automatically prompt the camera for that section, just like you got down there below your general photos. Where, if, again, I'm in a hurry. I love being in a hurry, right?
Yep.
that all I do is as soon as I come into the exterior, I can just start shooting pictures, and they all, without me tapping on it, having to select a comment or
Yeah,
anything else.
yeah, but it would organize them for you. That's right. It would be a different way. Instead of tagging it, you could just, and that's why Charlie built these photo buckets. So the idea is you literally could just hit new observation once on mobile, and you're essentially like, and see how the default modifier here is diagrams, pictures not included in report. So you could drag 50 pictures in here, all of the grounds, because we're in the grounds chapter. And actually, at the moment, none of this will show up in the report. Now, once you go to start doing stuff, like let's say you hit property drains, you could
Yeah.
start dragging some of those pictures down in here.
But can you tell me how you can grab a picture out of the bucket and drag it all the way down the screen to where it's not visible any longer?
Yeah, you might not be able to do
You
that.
can't do it.
Yeah.
So I
And
end
You
up
can
having
drag, you can drag the photo bucket in the menu on the left.
let's see.
Oh, now you're getting smart on me.
To put that at the bottom.
Yeah, just drag it right above wherever you want it to go.
Who's
I mean,
talking? My
might
new
be-
best friend.
It might be lost now. That's Gary.
Oh,
Gary.
did you not? Oh,
There
okay.
you go.
Well, anyway, I thought you could drag it down to the.
Well, you could. There's Irby complained that he was accidentally dragging things around, so we kind of locked it so that you can hit the pen to open it now.
I usually just grab the photo. Go to your photo bucket. I just grab the photo, and while I'm holding it, I force it to the bottom of the page on desktop, and it will slide.
Mine will not.
Yeah, interesting. Like
Yeah.
if you just push up here.
Right.
Yeah.
Up and
Yeah,
down.
mine's not doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be pretty cool to be
You
able
got the
to.
machine with the special sauce, Gary. Thank you.
Hold it slowly, Dylan. Instead of bouncing around, hold it, see if it scrolls.
Just hold it down there.
Yeah.
Just like hold it at the bottom, force it all
And
the
I
way
tried to
below
page
it.
down, page up on the keyboard, and I couldn't
Yeah.
get to do it.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, I can
There
get
it
mine
goes.
to work.
There it
There you go.
goes.
Oh.
It's
Yeah,
doing
it's,
it.
it's where your mouse is, not where the edge of the picture is. So the mouse has to be right on the edge of the line
Right,
of the.
that's right. Right at the bottom of the.
Leave it up to Tim to tell me what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, Mike. So that'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just takes a very steady hand, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It's like surgery here. Well, anyway, that does that make sense on these photo buckets? I mean, that's the idea behind these, and we actually set this template up where there is a photo bucket in each section, so that you could do that. That could be your, and so cool. That's phase one, right? Is then you describe everything. You could put a bunch of pictures into a photo bucket. And then the next step is writing a comment. So let me delete this. But our thoughts around this would be using the photo captions to bullets. So I just want to take pictures and caption them, right? That was the idea. That's the workflow. So in this case, I have a bunch of pictures that are not, there's no photo captions on them. So let me just show you a few things with our photo captions library as relates to photo captions. So, we'll go into exteriors and decks, and we'll go into decks and do a deck comment. So, right, you see how this works. Charlie built out a parent comment for every single system: decks, windows, doors, siding material. And every parent comment says basically the same thing. It's like, hey, deck, the following observations were noted. Recommendations, evaluation and repairs as deemed necessary. By whom? Appropriate qualified parties. And obviously we've got text replacement here, so you could move this to licensed arborist, plumber, HVAC, whatever. So really these things down here, the recommendations and by whom is universal to every parent comment. So you don't have to change that. Every parent comment has those in them. And every parent comment has this sort of blue title, and then the following observations were noted, right? So let's go through and grab some deck pictures. Again, one workflow would be you're using voice to text to simply caption these on site. But I want to show you an alternative using our photo captions library. All right, So we've got some uncaptioned pictures in here. So, and I'm partly want to show you guys this because if you were to use this template, we're not going to ship it with photo captions, meaning you have the ability to make your own photo captions library that is specific to your template. And what's cool about that is you could very quickly have a template that has your voice. It's your way of talking about all these things. And yet you're not having to write full narrative comments. You're just writing what and where, right? So let's save a few and make a few comments. So I don't know, localized wood decay noted in the decking, right? So we've got a little comment. Do you guys use comments sort of similar to that, like rot in the deck, right? Something like that. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to add that to the library. And we could go, let's go back. Open up the next picture. So let's say we wanted to caption that. It should remember that now. I start typing in localized and there's my caption. And we have this working on mobile right now. So you could take a picture and you start typing in LOCAL and it's going to find that comment and put it in for you. So now on mobile for your workflow, you don't even have to use the voice to text if you don't want to. I like voice to text, but I've actually been using a bunch of photo captions. It's really pretty.
Hey, Dylan,
pretty
explain
nice.
the benefit to me of what you just did in saving those comments over yet another pre-written comment that we just click on. What's the advantage between
yeah,
the
I
two?
mean, to me, there's like if you have a lot of this is that multiple defects with the same system, you know, and trying to avoid a report where you have 10 repair items under the deck, and now I can just have one repair item to fix the deck, you know. So that's one thing, and the other is that it's just hard to, you know, my library, there's 4,000 or 5,000 comments, you know, and that's a lot to try to keep track of and manage and deal with, and so it's just like there's a simplicity here of just like having a few parent comments and having everything built out as photo captions for all the what and where, you know.
The reason I asked that question is Jamie's on here. He's got multiple inspectors. I've got multiple inspectors. The more latitude we give them, the more variety we get in our comments.
Yeah, totally.
We're trying to pull back in a little bit tighter as opposed to giving more leeway.
Yep.
So that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, no, it's a great one. And so a couple things there, things I would consider if you like this technique, having a photo captions library will help, right? I mean, let's do one more and I'll just give you one more example here. But the ledger board has not been correctly bolted. So that's actually pretty easy to speak in. But let's say you want it better than that. You could say, see the DCA 6 for bolting requirements, right? And you could actually, sorry, I type like a Neanderthal. Especially when I'm talking at the same time. So you can put a hot link in here. So I don't have a link to the DCA 6 off the top of my head here, but you know, I could hit that and like, you know, you could put a little link to the DCA 6. So I mean, there's things that you can do that you're not going to do with voice to text where you're like building in more information. And yet let's go ahead and save this. And then let's pretend with this, there's probably another bolt. Here's another bolting picture. So I'm now going to type in bolt. Oh, I forgot to save it to the library. I'm opening up the original one and I'm going to add it to the library, right? So I've added this nice photo captions. Now we pick up this other same bolting issue and all I type in is bolt. And there's my comment. So, I mean, that gets that's a way of handling this, Jamie, for your guys, where it's like, all right, when there's, you know, just type in the word bolt and this says what I want it to say, you know. So I do think you can kind of manage the guys. And then once you have everything, let's do one more here just to get the point across. The floor joists at the deck are lacking proper blocking where the floor joists land on the beam. right? And that's one that is I've always found is kind of a pain to speak. I'd love to just have that as a saved caption. So now in this template, I just hit add to library, and the next time that comes up, you could start typing in the word block. Like here's another one. So I'm going to start typing in block, and boom, there's my comment, right? And again, Mike, the advantage here is multiple defects with the same system. I have one comment, I put 8 pictures in, I put my cursor here, I hit that button, and I'm done.
But doesn't it make that comment multiple times?
Well, it does, and I wouldn't. I'm mostly repeating them to show you the library saving feature, So I wouldn't repeat those normally if I were doing it.
That's live, or is that just in the skeleton template?
This is we have this template. I could load this template for you. I mean,
you did already, but is
okay.
this, so can I do this in my, template that I'm building from
scratch?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all you really need to build to get started is these parent comments,
Yep.
And once you come up with a format that's your format for the parent comment, rinse and repeat, I mean, you just put that. And in theory, I mean, this is what is neat about this, Mike Patton, is that this is a template that just doesn't have that many comments to deal with. Now, I do think if I were using this, I would want to build out a bunch of single type repair comments. So a good example for me would be like the bathroom. And like, I would probably want like a slow drain comment, or like I bet you there's 10 to 20 comments in each chapter that you'd want to have that are just one item things. And you could build those out, and you could save them as your favorites, and then you just click on a list of your favorites, there it is, slow drain. So boom, there it is, You guys all know how to save things for favorites, right? It's the little heart button here. So you could come through then, if you like this technique, Jamie, you could, for example, particularly, wherever you're going to have multiple defects with the same system. So to me, that's roof, siding, electrical, chimneys, electric panels, windows, right? Multiple defects with the same system. You use the parent comment, but then in something like a bathroom, you could argue this technique is less valuable, right? That you're better off having your old comments where it's like all your sink comments and stuff. But there's no reason you couldn't, sinks often have multiple things wrong with them, and then you could just hit that one thing. So the other thing that we are doing with this template is we are shipping with Charlie's gunny sacks in here. And this is helpful, particularly for the new guys, because you could be like, what are sink concerns? Well, aerators, the wand, the faucet, countertops, wood countertops, laminate countertops. So, in theory, this is kind of every defect with the sink and countertop and cabinets all built into one comment. And you could use these in your report, but our kind of thought is that they're pretty detailed and a lot of people wouldn't use them. So we've kind of included the gunny sacks as like your second brain if you want help remembering what you should be looking for and stuff like that. That makes sense, everyone, So that's kind of shows off this idea behind the skeleton template. And I actually think any one of us in theory could go out tomorrow and write a report where you just take pictures and caption them. And that was kind of what our objective was. And that's, I guess, to answer your question, Mike, I mean, that was what we're trying to, the theory was that would be a huge time saver and yet also be pretty valuable. The risk for a multi-inspection firm on this is you're giving a lot more latitude to people, right? Every employee's kind of got to, caption things and you hope they caption it right, So, take this with a grain of salt. It's just kind of a theory, but our theory was that in a way, if you were like wanting to build your own template, that this is actually a kind of cool starting place. And then you add your simple one-line comments on top of it, was sort of how I was visualizing it. But, go ahead, Jamie.
A question. At gunny sack, you were just showing, is there a way to copy a gunny? And for all of you that are more experienced users, I'm in my first week with, so is there a way to copy the whole gunny sack from one template to from that template to my template that I'm starting?
Yeah. So there's, I think Charlie has his gunny sacks separated and you can separate gunny sacks. There are two different questions you're asking. One is, could you copy this to some other place in your report?
No,
Uh,
no.
and
Whole
I,
separate template.
yeah, to a different template. Well, so let's talk about that because Scribeware, you have a global library that is universally available in whatever template you used.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the template is different from the library. So that's an important distinction. And I can show you here. Let's, right now we're in where are we? The bathrooms. So I'm going to edit this section. I'm going to
While
hit,
you're narrating there, I'm just going to throw out. I like a lot of my comments, but you have some brilliant comments. Charlie has some brilliant comments, and a guy local to me, Jeff Liss, has some brilliant comments. I'm stealing those, and I think I already told you that. And I love that I'm going to be able to do this. I think pretty easy.
yeah, I mean, you can kind of cut and paste stuff. So this would be good for you, what I'm showing you here. These are the library categories.
Yep.
So these are all of Charlie's, and you can see the ones that are checked here are the ones that are currently available in this section, right? And this is all done through edit library category. So if I wanted to, I could grab my, 8 electrical comments and add those, right? And then I'd hit update library category and I could pick up electrical there. Now, these are only the library categories that are currently connected to this template. So let's say, for example, that I wanted to grab some things outside of this template. How you do that is you go into the library up here, middle thing, and then right up here under these 3 dots, show all categories. And this is kind of like the nuclear option for me in particular. I have all these stupid, libraries on my account. But if I hit that, and now I go back into the skeleton template, and I go back in here and I edit the section and I edit the library category, I think I'm going to get, I mean, this is just Pandora's box. I mean, this is like, I have checkbox from my checkbox template. This is where this would help you, Jamie, because now you could see comments from Charlie's template, from Jeff's template, from my template, from your template. I mean, this is everything. And you can search. So I could go under bathroom, right? And now I would have, here are the 3 that are currently attached to the bathroom, but I also have bathroom ventilation, checkbox bathroom, narrative bathroom sinks, narrative bathrooms, so I could grab my narrative bathroom comments and connect.
I'm on Zoom.
Does it get dangerous here? You have different modifiers and things. Is it going to start reassigning those to different modifiers?
That's a super good question, because we actually did some important stuff that, like Mike Patton, this could really help you. You can now save modifiers per template, and I should show this off. Why this matters is, like, if you do sewer scopes and home inspections, you might want some different modifiers just for your sewer scope template, and you can now do that. I mean, before you could sort of do it because the only ones that would show in the report are ones you used in the report, but now you can save specific modifiers to the template. What would happen, Jamie, if you brought a bunch of things over from somebody else's template, they'll probably show up as no modifier if you don't have a modifier in your template, and then you just have to switch them and save them,
Can you continue this process and show us there? Now you went to a library and you went to view and all that. How now? Oh, so you don't have to show me, because now I'm going to go in my other template and I'm going to show all, and then I could just grab that into my.
Yeah, the big thing you want, if you want to search for your library outside of whatever given template you're in, the keys to the kingdom are this show all categories. And again, I think, there ought to be a little nuclear button on this thing, because it's just, you're now exposing, like, I mean, for me, that's like thousands of freaking comments, it's really kind of massive. But, for you, Jamie, if you are integrating multiple templates, like, this is a way that you can somewhat automatically do that, yeah. So I think I showed you the full process, right? Edit section, edit library category. And again, you're only going to automatically, we only show you the ones you're working in. And then once you hit show all categories, this is like every different thing I've got in my whole library.
I had it in my head. I had to like cut and paste, and all you're doing is enabling or disabling. It sounds like.
Yeah, if you think of it, how we try to design it is that you can store all of your narratives into folders.
Yeah.
And then those folders could be applied to any section in any template that you want. Cool.
Good.
All right. So what else was I going to show you guys? There was something I was hot on the trail of. Anybody remember what I was doing? I was so excited to show you guys one other thing. We went over favorites. Well, what was it? How are we talking about? There was one other thing. It's the problem. So many features. Oh, I know what it was. It was saving narratives per template, which is a new feature for us and kind of huge. So observation modifiers, see right here, I'm in my settings. I'll go back real quick. So settings, bottom left, observation modifiers. These are all the ones that I use, and notice that, or these are actually the ones in Charlie's template, that skeleton 2. But you see how it says template skeleton 2? I could click here and get residential. These are the ones in my template. Isn't that cool? So right up here is where you can kind of show the different modifiers that are available in a given template. And there's a copy button, which I don't entirely understand, and I'm scared to hit. I got to figure out what that one does. Yeah, I mean, you guys will get a kick out of this, but I mean, Steve doesn't tell me anything, and partly is that a big part of this is that he really wants to know what is not intuitive. So whenever we're building new stuff, he just throws it out, and I'm like, try it, and like, so there are things that aren't intuitive about it, but we do it somewhat intentionally. I mean, if you think about it, if he explained everything in great detail to me, then we don't really have a metric of how intuitive things are, especially for the beta users where you're like the first round of users. And I mean, Steve is super smart, and he wants this in a perfect world. We started this venture thinking there should be no directions. It'll be so easy to use. But of course, now it does so much stuff that's not even remotely possible. But
not even remotely.
No, we have to have directions. But anyway, does that make sense, guys? So modifiers, and then you can save different ones per template.
What does the copy button do? You didn't.
Well, I'm too scared to hit it. I don't know. And I need to ask Steve. There's a few, this is like hot off the presses. It's brand new. So I don't quite understand, like, I mean, I see how I can like move it around between them, but I don't understand. I assume when one of these is up, if I hit add new, or if I make changes to it, it just auto saves in that particular thing, in that particular template. So I think that's how that all works. And I don't know what the copy. I'll hit copy. We'll see what happens. Oh, look, so I could take Charlie's group of modifiers and apply them to a different template, which is pretty cool. Make sense?
Yes.
And I survived that. We don't need a nuclear button on the copy button. That's pretty tame.
Taking one for the team there.
But this is
Dylan, can you
go ahead, Yuri.
Can you clarify if the skeleton residential 2 is something that is going to be or is by default in
yeah, that's a great question, Yuri.
Or no?
Yeah,
because I don't see it on mine.
No, we just built it, So
Okay,
if anybody wants it, shoot us an email to support@getscribeware.com, and we'll load that for you. And you're welcome. We kind of would love some people going out field testing it. I mean, I assume you're going to have to spend some time tweaking it, but our thought is that it's kind of simple in a lot of ways. Just take pictures and caption them. I mean, it's kind of ready to go for that. So, minus a little bit of tweaking. So yeah, just shoot us an email and we can load that for you. And I think it'll be available for future downloads, but you obviously those things aren't retroactive. As I think, Jamie, I don't understand why you don't have tags, because I don't think you signed up that long ago. But well, again, if you don't have tags, you could also hit some support and hit our team up, and Steve can probably figure out why you don't have tags.
To send the email, it's through submit feedback.
Yeah, that's the easiest, guys. Right here is submit feedback. I mean, Steve built this so that you don't have to struggle to find us, and that gets to the whole team. It's way better than emailing one of us, because somebody got mad at me the other day because I didn't get back to them, and it's like I have days where I have like 2 home inspections and I get like 400 emails or something, and it's like it can definitely happen that I miss one. So getting it to the whole team is helpful. We have a procedure to try to not lose emails. Yeah, Mike, yeah,
Since you
man.
offer simplicity, I've got a question because mine does not function this way. In a template, I've got standard items that I've just load in for exterior, for example, that there's regular maintenance required on the building, failing caulk, yada, yada, yada. It requires regular painting, yada, yada, yada. Okay, great. Well, I've actually saved that comment with the little click box. In other words, it's a selection. And whenever I bring that template back in, it was saved in the template with that comment live. It does not populate. I actually have to turn it on and off to get it to populate again. So when you're talking about the simple templates, things like that, I think are fantastic to be able to utilize because it's in every report, no matter what I do. But is it functioning correctly that it will not populate?
I would need to meet with you and see what you're doing. I think everything's working fine, so there's probably some like user error tweak there that we need to figure out.
Default descriptions will allow that to populate without having a tick mark on it.
Well, that's right, Mike. And so if you want that type of language on every report, default descriptions is what I would use. And do you guys want me to show you how to build a default description? I mean, it can't hurt, right? Let me get out of the skeleton and let me just do one in one of my templates real quick.
I hate to always be asking the questions and commenting.
That's what these are for, Mike. No, that's what I mean. If everybody knew everything, we wouldn't have to meet up. All right, I'm just loading a new report just to kind of fiddle with this, and I probably have a description. Let me think about. Yeah, I know where I could probably build something. All right, let's go to water heaters and let's add a blank section. So I'm going to come under the 3 dots here under my section and add a blank section. Blank, and I'm going to move it up to the top, which I think now is locked. Irby. That's you, Irby. Now I can move it up. I mean, in a way, it's good. He does everything on a tablet, and he was having things move around on him, and I kind of get it. So we've locked that. But anyway, I hope that's better for you, Irby. All right,
Dylan,
so
on that, I think the idea on that is that if you like moving them, you just leave the edit button on. Because they changed it. He changed it so that when you hit the edit button, it doesn't expand everything. You have a second button if you want to expand everything. So now inspectors who like to move it around just hit the edit button once when you start the report, and then you can move it the entire time just like you used to be able to. It's just the visual thing is a little different with the
because you have the equal signs open. That's brilliant.
Equal signs. But yeah, just leave it on if you're
that's
that
great.
type of inspector.
Thank you for that, Tim. Does that make sense, everybody? And Irby, we want feedback, but I'm really hoping this helps you, man. I know it was a super pain for him because he was working on a tablet, and it would like things would move around. I mean, it's happened to me before, so I get it. But okay, so we let's just say that we want TPRVs. So we're just going to have this default description show up. So let's view the library just to double check, but I'm pretty sure I have, nothing's in there. So it's because I've added a new section here. So let's, this is cool. We're going to actually go ahead and we'll edit the section, and I'm going to edit my library category, and I want water heater. So let's see, narrative water heaters, 210 comments. Boom, I just connected all of those comments. So now we can view the library. We could do TPRV, And I'm going to have all kinds of stupid stuff about TPRVs, right? Cool. So we know that there's a comment there. And what I'm looking for is a descriptive comment, right? So what I want to do now is edit this section, turn it green, and then we're going to add new, right? And then see down here before I touch anything, default descriptions. Amen. Hallelujah. We hit default descriptions. Now there's all these descriptions in here. So, and here's the one I wanted, this TPRV description, right? So we hit close, add field.
Dylan, what would you have done if that was not in that screen?
Then I would have had to make sure that it's in there. So that's why the very first thing I did, that's a good question. The first thing I did was make sure I had the comment in the section.
Okay.
Because
You have
otherwise
to tie your library to it.
Yeah, I got nothing to tie it to if there's nobody home, right? So
that screen you were at would have had every comment that you added that had TPRV in it.
yeah, or in this case, what it was looking for is every descriptive comment that I had. And the description is the modifier, right? This is this gray descriptive modifier. So we only support this with descriptive comments. This like auto, like there's a full narrative there is only with descriptions. So and now if I go ahead and I hit save template, every time I start a new template, I will have TPRVs with this little thing there. That makes sense. Cool. But you do need to hit save template in order to keep this. This is a template change, not the library comment, but the fact that, well, we added a new section, and then we added a default description. Both of those things would require a template save in order to keep them for the next job. And I distinguish that because let's say that I go ahead and I type in some stuff here. That's a change to my narrative, to my library. To save that, I just have to come up here and hit update library. That's all I need to do to save that library comment. Whereas, I'm trying to help you distinguish between a template save and a library save because they're two very different things. So here's my narrative. I come up here, I change it. I can come up to these three dots in the narrative, update library, and now you've saved that latest iteration of that library comment. As opposed to adding a new section and adding a default description. Those are template things.
Hey, Dylan.
Yeah.
Tell me how stupid this analogy is I've come to think of my library as being my bucket of parts. I'm going to plumb something up. It's my bucket of parts, but what I'm building out of that is my template.
Let's see.
Your comments are your parts.
Yeah, I mean, so your bucket of parts is more like the names of chapters, the names of sections, the fields that are in the pull downs, and any links between library and pull downs. Does that make sense, Mike? So, I mean, to me, we just distinguish a narrative from the structure, the bones, and for us, the bones are chapters, sections, pull downs, inspector only notes, all that stuff is.
To me, like that's the building frame that I'm working with there, but I need to plumb something in now. And I'm using my bucket of parts. So my analogy is kind of poor, but it's the way that I can think of it.
No, it's really, to me, it's really good. It's just, I think your bucket of parts is all this kind of stuff, and then it's almost like the narratives are like the water that flows in it within that template. So the narratives are like the water that goes into that sink that you plumbed. And, it's all of this template stuff's what holds that water in there and like gives it support and a place to put it, if that makes sense,
So back on that description thing, Dylan.
Yep.
I added some descriptions even to a lower level in TPRV. Maybe there would be tankless TPRVs and tank style TPRVs inside your TPRV.
Yeah, like kind of more like in here.
Section.
Yeah.
And then I had it set up for the for his photo bucket idea, where I want the photo bucket to place a comment on every job in every section, and I don't have to tick open photo bucket on each section. So I went to default descriptions and have it to where when I put a new template in, it automatically opens all of those photo buckets in all of them. So it puts 60 or so photo buckets open, ready to receive photos.
Yep.
So, however, if I don't include something in a chapter that has an open photo bucket and I preview it, it thinks that there's something in it. It thinks that it has a check mark there. So it shows in the printed report. So there is a little bit of a nuance there. You have to really kind of get used to working with default descriptions, because it by default puts that in your template. So if you work a job and you don't have a TPR valve on a tankless and you say, I want to put it in there, it's still going to be there and it's going to show in the printed version.
So I think the issue, Gary, is that you're trying to use them connected to a field value that you do want.
Correct.
In the report.
Maybe or not. So, maybe I don't want it, but it shows anyway.
So here I have an inspector note about the electric element sequence, because I'm not freaking smart enough to remember the sequence that the elements come on in a water heater. That's I just it blows me away, but there's certain stuff I just for the life of me can't remember. So I build this little note in so I can remember how it goes, right? So watch what happens here. Let's preview this. But inspector notes will not show up. All we're going to, and actually this whole thing stays hidden because I've built this as a descriptive comment tied to an inspector only note. So if I preview this, absolutely none of this will be in the report. So
yeah, so you just turn it off. So I could use the same thing with my photo bucket and just turn it off.
Correct. Yeah, you want to trigger those with an inspector only note.
The way you turn it off is through the inspector only note function.
Correct. That's correct.
Gotcha.
So we'll go into the complete inspection report. We'll go into water heaters, and you can see that diagram. There's nothing about that. It's just that TPRV default description. So that makes sense, Gary. So
and for me, that would be my photo bucket waiting for me to put a photo in.
Yeah,
but because I didn't go into some section, that thing is just sitting there going, it's useless data.
You want to redesign that differently. If we go to how Charlie did it in his skeleton template, notice how his photo bucket is, it's auto triggered. So like there's actually nothing there. So how he did this is cool to know, is if you edit a section, you can choose your default modifier.
Yep.
So for him, it was this
default modifier
diagram
doesn't show. Yeah,
correct. And then he kept the default modifier not showing. So now you just drag the pictures in, not included in report, right? So
we talk about this all the time, Charlie and I do discuss this hierarchy that you have built here that is so unbelievably customizable. There is almost no right or wrong answer to how you construct your template.
It's true, and we've made it hard in that way, but it's also so cool. I mean,
I can build a template that's specific to me that hardly anyone would.
Well, that's right. I mean, and it's, Mike Patton's going through this and Jamie's going to embark on it. And it's like, it's painful at first, but like, you will have a piece of intellectual property that is completely unique to your company that nobody can take from you. And it's your knowledge. It's what keeps the lawyers away. It's what keeps the clients calling you.
But in the same sense, it almost is a double-edged sword in that if you want to create a template for use of for the masses, you have to break that template down to be so very simple.
For us, for Scribeware, it's an inhibitor to growth, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, I'd love your guys' opinion on this, but I mean, I would argue every other software system is designed to try to be like you just push a button and get a report. And that's why the reports are terrible. From my perspective, they are, and it's why it's not customizable enough to like build this thing that's truly your business's intellectual property. You can't do enough to actually do that, and and it's always sort of floored me because I always think our report is our business. Like the software, it's our brain, it's everything. It's our best marketing tool. It's the one piece of marketing that every single client and agent we work for asks for us for it. They demand it from us, and it's our best marketing. And people are like, well, I just want something where I push on a button. And it's like, well, then you don't use your report as your marketing. And you've lost the single best tool that you have for marketing your company.
Can I comment on that for you,
Yeah,
Dylan?
yeah.
One of the main reasons that we're using Scribeware instead of another particular one is I can't tell who created that report if I don't see the header on it. I see nothing unique. There's several people in our area I can pick out that I know whose report that is.
That's right.
And maybe that's somewhat, self-serving, and I want to blow up about it, but I know whose report it is, and I have confidence in that.
That's right.
Where when it looks like it came across as cookie cutter, my confidence diminishes, and I start looking around the room and saying, was that a brand new inspector that did this? Was this a 20-year inspector? I doubt it.
But you can't tell. You can't distinguish that with a lot of those systems. You're right,
That's what
Mike.
I'm saying is it really challenges you on what you're looking at.
Yep.
And we won't go into name calling or anything.
Good.
It kept me away from one particular one, plus the fact that I like guardrails. You don't give us any guardrails. I'm off the road quite a bit. I've been hitting a lot of ditches because I take off and run right when I should have stayed in the lane and stayed going forward, where in reality, they put tight guardrails on you where you're almost skinning your car the entire time you're rolling down the lane.
Yeah, that's right.
You've got no guardrails on us.
No, we don't. It takes somebody that wants to take control of their report. You got to want to own it, But it floors me how few people want that, because it's like, wow, really? Like, that's your company. That's what you do. You're a home inspector. Like, that is your business, is your whole report and your template and what it looks like. And we brought over a company recently that said, I spent like thousands of hours working on my template and sent out a report, and the agent's like, oh, it looks just like somebody else's report. And he was just devastated. He's like, are you kidding me? I put so much time into this template, but the agent didn't even see the difference. And I mean, that's not acceptable, right? Like, if you're putting that kind of time in, it should be yours. It should be like, oh, this is one of Mike's reports, right? I mean,
it's like when you go to the Academy Awards and you're both wearing the same dress.
Yeah.
Well, you may be wearing the same dress, Jay.
Yeah. Well, cool, Gary. I hope that helps, man. So let me know on your photo buckets if that helps. Now, with your photo buckets that you built, Gary, have you played with that workflow with the mobile and stuff? How's that working out?
It works out. I don't use it super often if I have a real attentive client with me and it demands a lot of my attention.
Mm-hmm.
I'll switch to the photo bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And so I might have 30 minutes with him bugging the hell out of me, and I'll be outside, at the beginning. And so a lot of my photo bucket stuff will be outside stuff.
Yep. Cool, guys. Well, next meetup, maybe we'll spend a lot of time on the mobile app. I try to make these about an hour and a half, so we've kind of hit that, and happy to answer a few questions if that helps. But we're doing so much work on the mobile; it's really exciting, and it's just getting better and better. And so next meetup we'll try to go over mobile and show you a lot of stuff we're doing there. But this was good. We covered summary items. And some stuff we're thinking about there. I was able to show off the skeleton template. We talked about photo buckets and how to have a template that is only one template and not have too many templates. So hopefully some good content in here for you guys to think about.
Hey, Dylan, do we have still a few minutes? I just want to touch upon photo buckets.
Yeah.
In a way, there are two questions maybe in one. So I'm looking at photo buckets, and I'm also looking at some of the options that are in the regular templates, and it's called the general photos. So let's say general ground photos.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is it, first question, how do I generate I think it's called a section. Let's say if I want to have general photos for everything. So at the moment I have for grounds and I think for roof but let's say I want for every category.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
well,
one question. But then,
couple, yeah. Let me just answer a few things real quick, and
go
then you can
ahead.
keep going. The general these photos are designed to display in the report. So this is like,
Correct.
you know, and so that's one different. The photo bucket were kind of designed to stay hidden until you use them, type thing. But let's say you want to add more of these. Let's add one of these to the garage section. So you're going to come up in your section, you're going to hit add blank section, and we will drag it up to the top. We will call this garage photos. And now here's the final step to it is we want to have, right now, if I drag it in, it's probably going to be a repair item. And we don't want that. I like to use a no modifier for ones that we want to show up in the report. So we'll edit the section and we will have the default modifier be no modifier. Right? Now you can just drag pictures in. You with me there, Yuri?
Yes, I understand that.
Cool.
Another quick question.
Yep.
Can you do this, let's say the same as in a Word document, you highlight, right click, copy, and then you paste in every category?
Can you repeat that? I didn't follow you on that one.
So let's say we are in garage photos. We created this specific section, right? So can we just, let's say, somehow highlight it? Like in a Word document, you highlight something, you...
Do you want to move that to other chapters? Is that what you're wondering? Oh, you're still on there? I think you might have muted yourself, Yuri. Check your mic, maybe. So I see you're talking, your microphone's going up and down on Zoom, but I don't hear you. You guys hear him?
How about now?
Yeah,
Is
now
it
we
better?
got you.
Yeah, it's a connection.
Yeah.
Never mind. I think it might be just simpler to do the way you did it.
Well, one thing you could do if you wanted to is watch. You could copy this section. So now I got two of them. You could call this, you know, roof photos. And then you can open up the little pen and you could drag it down to the roof section.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was asking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Dylan.
Yeah.
In the cell phone, does that automatically go to photos when you go to that area? In other words, I'm thumbing and I've just left grounds and I'm going to garage. The first thing that should be there is garage photos, right? On my cell phone.
Correct. Yep.
Do I have to click anything at that point, or can I start hitting the camera when that first shows up?
Got to open the camera in that section.
Yeah, you would so remember that if you want pictures to show up in a section, you need a narrative. You don't have to have a comment, but you need to hit add observation. And then from there, you could start firing open photos and they'll stay there.
I keep sending stuff to the, or what are we calling it? The general photo grouping.
The gallery.
The gallery, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And you know, I personally don't mind working off the gallery too much, but anyway, the photo buckets is a great solution for mobile to try to get things fairly well organized that don't require you to you know, do much. You can just quickly get pictures there, but you would need a comment, or you know, like you could do something the way like we do the data plates, you know, where you could build out a little box, you know, like something like this, just so you click something and quickly get some. You just want a bucket to hold it, you know. So that would be like Charlie's photo buckets. Charlie is brilliant with these templates, but he doesn't work on the mobile much, you know. So like his on this skeleton residential, you would actually have to hit add observation before you could start putting things into the bucket. On desktop, you don't need to do that, right? As soon as you drop something in, it's there. Whereas on mobile, you just have to hit add observation and then do it. That makes sense.
The feature I had in mind was a photo bucket in each chapter. And when I put 3 photos or 1 or 50 photos in that photo bucket, and that photo bucket happened to be in grounds, it auto tagged those photos to the grounds
Using a
chapter.
grounds tag. Yeah.
Yes, right. And then if I went to appliances, it did the same thing.
Well,
And
I mean,
then,
but this
if
is
that
what the
hierarchy
tags.
is,
Yeah, I
if
mean,
that
this is what.
hierarchy is the same, then you could have your chapters different, and it would tag your chapter name to the photos.
But wouldn't the tags do the same thing if you just take a picture and tag
The
it
only
with like?
the only thing is, I don't want to stand there in the heat in Mississippi and type in my chapter name or
Well, no,
any other name on my tag. I don't want to tag those photos.
you just don't want to, even if the
I
tags were
just don't. I
sitting
mean,
right
it's
on
just
top of the
another
photo.
step to
Yeah,
go
it
through.
is.
If you could
Yeah.
automate it with something that says, when I drop a photo here, it's going to automatically tag it to the chapter in which it's located.
Mm-hmm.
Then, man, that's pretty powerful. If I get back now to the job, I go back to my desktop, I can click the filter up there and pull up all those photos if I want them.
I see
But
what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. So that
Yeah.
basically, if the photo bucket exists within a chapter, everything, or really any, I mean, I guess the key would be if you set up tags per chapter, and I suppose another way to do it is like you could tags could auto be like available per chapter, like every chapter just has its own tag.
If you put a photo in that chapter, it auto tags it to the chapter.
Yeah, that's
Now
pretty cool idea.
the only good that I could see out of that is if you actually use that tag to do something, and in mobile you won't. I wouldn't think as much. It would only be. I mean, so I'll ask the group: when are tags most important to you? Is when you work on desktop, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that when you use a tag?
Well,
Why
no,
even have a
no.
tag?
Having them organized on in the gallery would be helpful on mobile because you can write the report from mobile,
So
right? You
that
can,
ties you to the review, which is kind of
yeah,
the theme of today's meeting,
or not
right?
just the review, but like if you're writing the report
Yeah,
off of your gallery, I could go
I see.
hit my deck comments and just have all
Yeah,
my deck ones show up and
yeah,
not need to
right,
sift through that whole
right,
gallery,
right. I got you. I got you.
So I
So,
actually think that
so let me ask you that on that theme, Dylan. Can I open just any section and take 200 photos? And
sure.
as I'm taking them, I'm going to the gallery with each one and I'm tagging them correctly. Can I record all of the photos in my job and never put any of the photos in the report? They're just in the gallery on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do that and tag them as I go?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I would like to do for the gallery that you can't do at the moment is like, these are all not tagged. And I would like to, you can kind of highlight pictures in the gallery, right? Just turn them red. And I would like to be able to highlight, for example, all of my deck pictures and then be able to when they're
Auto tag 'em.
highlighted, tag all
Tag all
30
of
of
them.
them,
Yeah, right.
And
Sure.
right now we can't do that, but
Yeah,
do
multiple tag.
yeah, doing that would help. If you could tag a whole group at one time, I think would save a lot. It would make the tags a lot more useful, So, but I mean, you're on to good stuff, Gary. We're trying to, we've even discussed, for me, the use of artificial intelligence would be much more the ability to have a computer sort our pictures for us. I personally have never understood why you'd use AI to write comments for you. I mean, we're supposed to be freaking home inspectors, so like we should know this stuff way better than like a computer.
I failed grammar, Mississippi and all.
Well, the grammar's a different thing. I mean, that's like having a computer review your comment, but like
that language model is pretty good at grammar, man.
Yeah, well, that's a different thing though. But getting the codes right or the data right, the knowledge right,
Yeah.
And if you're a home inspector, you should either have created your own or use somebody else's library.
When did you go to a conference last, Dylan? Think about this conversation.
Yeah.
Wait, what's that, Mike?
When did you go to a conference last and listen to people?
Well,
you been there what, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah. What, as far as like them writing their own libraries and stuff? Is that what you mean? Yeah. Well, but I mean, you have access to like pre-written libraries, like everybody does, right? Every software system has pre-written. Are they all terrible? Is that the deal?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, I
Ah,
guess
holy cow.
I'm used to mine. There's like all this knowledge is built into it. I trust my template way more than AI to tell me about houses on Bainbridge Island, for sure.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
just, there's no way a computer knows more than me about houses around here. It's just not possible. But I have a bad, you're right. I'm like biased, right?
Mm.
That's, that is an interesting point, Mike. But I think for me, I would never use AI to write my comments, but I would like to have it sort all my pictures for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What I use AI for is I will put in there just whatever I'm looking for, and I'll let it, because of the grammar aspect. Me and Gary
Yeah.
apparently went to the same school,
Yeah.
and then I'll go back in and I'll rip out what I didn't want out of it, but I'll still use it for the structure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, again, for me, I spend most of my time is spent sorting pictures. You take 200 pictures and you got to get them all connected to a comment somehow, and that's really like what it bums me out, because it's like I don't know, why should I do that? I've already got a comment that says like there's rot in the fence. Like, to me, the computer should be able to see that I took a picture of rotted fencing and be like, oh, you probably want that with that. I mean, it's just matching, but
Is that a fence? Yeah, right. Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
take over your conversation again?
Yeah.
As you Dylan?
Yeah. Shoot, Mike.
This is all kidding aside. Right now, we hit volumes sometimes with sewer scopes. It's pretty unbelievable. We're kind of like happy about this, right? But I've got one guy that knows more about sewer than anyone else will ever know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can legitimately put him in the field, or one person in the field, two people in the field, three people in the field, specifically running those sewer scopes, load them into Scribeware. The true technician is in the field. The guy that knows what the hell we're looking at and the reporting, he could sit right here in the comfort of the wonderful air conditioning and never go turn a wrench again.
Yeah, that's right.
And the same
With the auto update thing that's going on with mobile desktop back and forth. Is that what you mean?
similar
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
the
cool.
ability to watch the report populate,
Mm-hmm.
but yet you really got your brain trust sitting back here in the office is starting to become very real,
Mm-hmm.
That's
if you
super
will.
cool. Yeah.
And like with the home
Mhm.
inspection, I've always said that
Well, look, don't give the multi-inspector guys any more fodder to build their empire.
Gary.
empires are being
Yeah.
built.
You
But
know,
yet,
I'm a one-man show, and you're not going to get me talking about
Yeah.
no damn multi-inspector
but if I can
companies. Get it.
if I can have this being populated and a secondary version, just like what Mike and Caitlin use, where I can be on the inspection with the dude walking through the property, it does not replace being there. Let's get past that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I can actually have a report writer sitting here doing nothing but running through this. And ideally, you could crank through this.
Well,
Well, you know,
that's right, Mike.
I'll tell you, there's something to that, because if you've got a new hire and you know his cell phone and you're watching him, when he's halfway through, you're on the phone to him going, man, I noticed that you did blah, blah, blah. Are you having trouble understanding?
Yeah,
So
that's
you're
right.
catching it before it gets out and where it does damage to your company.
And you think about it, Mike, this is where like the photo captions and the photo buckets, right? Like if you're out in the field, what and where, that's your photo caption, and the general description of the building. I mean, you need to like leave with the template, the structure set up, and the pictures tagged and the descriptions done. But at that point, that last like 20% of the report should be able to be done by anybody sitting in an office, where you're just moving the pictures around and making it pretty and doing some spell check and hit publish. I mean,
the part that,
wow.
and I'm way off base here, guys, so y'all can shut me down anytime. And the catch to it is, though, using what I saw Mike and Caitlin just playing with on one of their videos and watching the screen here of what's being populated, a person trying to learn really doesn't like you standing behind them. And I've learned over the past few years that if I don't stand behind and if I don't follow them, my mouth is engaged the entire flipping time, and I'm not depending on them learning anything. I'm like, hey, did you see that? Did you see this? What? What? You can put me on mute and I can follow along behind you. And you know good and well that they actually looked left to right where they went did you think to go back around like we teach you to go counterclockwise and then come back
Yeah.
clockwise of the house?
Even if
Not
you're on the
needed.
wrong house, I'm like,
Mhm.
You're really building out some powerful stuff here is really where I'm going with that. So it's all said as a
Yeah.
compliment. But
Yeah.
from
yeah.
a training standpoint, I think you've probably stepped into it as a training tool as powerful as anything that's out there.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. I totally agree. You can build knowledge into the way this is set up better than any system if you put a little effort into it, you know. And that's sort of what I mean. Like, to me, the AI thing, if you really know what you're doing, you can build a Scribeware template where it's like it's going to be way more accurate, way more specific to whatever your region is, and be your knowledge and your voice, and it's all just sitting there, and you just like freaking click on things, you know. I mean,
So is that the image AI? Is that where you're kind of leaning?
well, I mean,
Dylan?
that's where I am, but I mean, and you know, Mike has a good point. Like, a lot of people are not like I think, right? So I should rethink this a little bit. But my thought is that, you know, there's plenty of decent libraries and narrative libraries out there that have all of the information vetted and built in. And really, like, if you have a library like that, then the entire issue of report writing is about sorting. It's about matching pictures with comments.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, we've already got the library written and we go out and take pictures. So that, like, that's the thing that computers could do that, you know, I spend a lot of
Mhm.
time doing that. And like, do I really need to like organize like 6 stucco pictures with a stucco comment? You know, no, I don't feel like I feel like a computer could do that for me, you know, but you know, I might be wrong.
I don't know. There's that the part that can't be taken away is your senses.
Hmm.
You can take the photograph, you can show what's going on in it, but it's just like, you know, I pointed out to a couple yesterday and I said, you know, door casing's rotted out. They said, it just looks like bad paint. Well, I do the stupid thing. What do? I take my boot and I push on the end of it. And sure enough, I collapse the.
Yeah, you broke it, Mike.
I
You
broke it.
broke
I
it.
tore it up.
Yeah.
But yet, you know, to somebody that is not used to touching that stuff, you know, there's a gap that's missing there from the actual
Mhm.
experience. And that's the part that the computer, I won't say can't. Hell,
Yeah.
it's better off than I am. And I see Tim sitting there laughing at me.
Uh-huh,
But
uh-huh.
it's just like on a roof. I've only recently bent to using drones. I figured out they're a very good tool to use, but they're not the tool to end all. You can't say that the drone did it, so it's a done deal. But my putting a hand onto a shingle and feeling how pliable it is, there's just your senses are in use and you know what you're
Yeah,
looking
I'm totally
at.
with you,
I
Mike.
don't know any way of replacing that.
Yeah,
If I figure that out, I'm gonna be a happy camper.
yeah. Well, then the robots just start taking over for it. We're all doomed. Yeah.
Now
All
we'll make
right,
one other
guys.
comment here. Hey Tim, I really appreciate y'all working with me the other night. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't think I reached back out to you. Thank you.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, you're the best, Tim. Thanks for all your help, man. Well, great to see everybody, and good meetup. We got a lot of stuff covered, and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks or sooner if you get hung up. See you guys.
Thanks.